Mayor Nolan,
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Chisholm,
Present.
Councilwoman Richardson,
Yeah.
Councilwoman Howard is absent, Councilwoman Scott, and Councilman Bishop,
Present.
and Councilwoman Butler. We have a quorum, Mayor.
Okay, great. Everybody had a chance to look at the agenda?
Yes.
All right, anything we need to add or change?
Dinner.
We're not putting dinner on the agenda. Okay, can we got a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as is.
Support.
Probably move supported, discussion. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. It passes. All right, new business.
City council, city clerk interviews and discussions and or, appointment to the city clerk position.
Okay, do we have a motion?
So
Second.
Been properly moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
moved.
Opposed, say nay. Bring on our first candidate. Hello, Mrs. Holiday.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council.
Good evening. I'm glad you're here tonight. We're looking forward to this interview. Just make sure you relax and, just answer your questions to your best of your ability. Obviously, if you have some questions for us at the end of the interview, you're welcome to ask that. And who wants the first question?
Excuse me, Mayor, before you all start, I have some packets I would like to pass out.
Okay,
May
sure.
I approach?
Mhm. I can tell by the thickness of this package, you're not into conserving trees or anything like that.
We get started, just a brief description. It's just a packet of documents that I've been combining in a folder of what I've been looking up and what I've been actually doing. And that way I'm just giving you all a synopsis of what I've been doing.
What have you been doing in what capacity?
Well, right now I have been filling in the clerk's office. So, for me, even just being temporary, I take it as, hey, this is where I'm gonna be, wherever I fill in. So I start doing my search of what is what and compiling it in a folder. So if I ever need it, I can just flip to it.
Well, this is information for us to keep?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Councilwoman Morales, why don't you start with the first question?
Okay, thank you for participating in this interview process. The first question I would like to ask is, in reference to the clerk's office and how familiar, with the role of the city clerk within, government, local government?
When I previously started here at the city in 2007, I came in as the secretary to the clerk at that time, which was Valida Gutierrez. Then I was processing the packets for council, putting them together, keeping schedule and disseminating what's needed. I was doing FOIA requests as I have been doing while I'm in there now. I have been doing business license and notary and just getting familiar of the day-to-day details that go on in there.
Anybody else? Steve?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And you brought up FOIA, so I see, regarding with how familiar you are with FOIAs, I'm gonna put a little spin on it. So say in the event that you're in the clerk's office and you get 50 FOIAs that particular day, what order would you go about responding to those FOIAs?
If they come in all at the same day, I will go by the timestamp, the time that's received, and put them in that order.
And when you respond to these FOIAs, are you responding to the FOIAs in full, or are you sending them over to a different department first and then redacting?
Well, at first, they're given a number, and then they're routed to the appropriate department, and that department has 5 business days to respond, whether it's approved, denied, or extended.
If you feel these FOIAs violate any type of breach of security for the city, the government, the public safety department, how would you handle that?
If I feel that it was violated in any type of way, I would make it known to my superior and express why I feel that way and see what I need to do to move forward to correct it or to address it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
How will you handle a situation where a citizen is unhappy with a decision made by city council?
First of all, you need to be a listening ear and let the citizens speak in their entirety. Because sometimes the citizen just want to be heard. And I will take down the information and I will forward it to the mayor if it needs to be further addressed, or sometimes just by listening to the citizen, they get a different outlook on it and then they will be satisfied. But other than that, I would make sure I take down all the details and forward it to the mayor.
Councilman Bishop.
Yes. How would you handle, excuse me, how would you handle situations where you have to enforce the rules or regulations that may be unpopular with some people in the community?
If it needs to be enforced, that's what needs to be done. You cannot be biased. You cannot be opinionated. You just need to reinforce the procedure and the policy. I'm a firm believer of following protocol, the pecking order and policy.
My turn. What steps would you take if you discovered a potential violation of city ordinance or policies?
I would make sure that I find out the proper steps to take and start from that order. And if it's not have a resolution to it, then the next step will be taken, but I will definitely follow protocol.
Why do you believe you're the right candidate for the city clerk position?
I believe I'm the right candidate because I'm a hard worker. I learn very fast. I was born and raised here in Inkster. So I'm familiar with a lot of the people, and I just feel that I would be a better fit because I work hard. My work ethic speaks for itself. And I learn very fast, and I'm very organized.
Are you familiar with how the city of Inkster runs, operates?
Yes, but it's always more to learn.
A question regarding the elections. As you know, the elections coming up in February. And so what is your experience handling previous elections, if any?
As noted in my packet, the election process, you must first secure the polling location, solicit election inspectors, train election inspectors, provide all appropriate notices, and make sure election equipment is serviced. You need to have an election commission meeting to approve funds, ballots, election inspectors, and any necessary supplies that need to be, and make sure on election day that all of the polling locations have their appropriate supplies that they need and be able to go to each polling location when needed.
Just a follow-up to that, have you worked any elections before?
Yes, when I was with the city previously, I did many years of the receiving board.
And I have a question. Regarding when information is requested of you from one member of council or the mayor's office, do you find it appropriate to respond and send that information to all persons of this body or the governing body, or do you find it appropriate just to send it to one person?
It all depends on what the information that is requested. If the information is requested and it's just needed by one council, then yes, but if it's needed by all council members, definitely.
What is your understanding of your relationship or role with the city council?
I would like to pride myself that I have a very nice understanding of city council because respect is a big thing to me. I know half of you and I'm getting to know the newer council people. So I'm very approachable. I'm very easy to deal with, and what you see is what you get.
I mean, what's the city clerk's role with the city council?
The city clerk's role is to make sure that all notifications are put out in a timely manner, to make sure that if anything needs to be given to council, that they get it in a timely manner. Just making sure the day-to-day overall is ran on time and appropriately, and everything is transparent as far as to city council.
Excuse me. Can you provide an example of a time when you had to resolve a conflict between two parties?
Previously, when I worked with the city, you know, the employees, I was in a different department. So I would have a employee come regarding another employee, and I would talk to him individually, and then we would meet together to resolve and come to a conclusion and an understanding.
And that was successful?
Yes, ma'am.
What strategies do you use to stay organized and manage multiple tasks simultaneously?
Whenever information is received, putting it in its proper place, make sure everything is labeled. I'm really for uploading information and keeping it online until we can come up with that. If I am put in there, right now I'm keeping everything pretty much hard copy and making copies and files online, but it's all about being organized in that department. You can't run it without being organized. I want to be able to, if a council member or you, mayor, need a document, I can go straight to it and pull it for you and not standing there fumbling of trying to find it. So it's all about organization.
And as a follow-up also to that, how do you handle tasks that you're given simultaneously? How do you?
Prioritizing which one is needed first, second, and third, and therefore you just have to prioritize your task and handle them as they come and not let anything just sit on your desk, as they say. It's best to get right to it and do it that way. You don't have anything sitting, and that way you won't become overloaded.
So how do you stay informed about current events and issues affecting your community?
I go on the city's website.
What if the
I-
website is down?
If the website is down, well, I have not experienced that as of yet, but if the website is down, if I have communication with other members to where it is put into a group chat or text to you, but if the website is down, then I will just do it that way. There's no other way to do it, but I believe in going on the website daily, 3-4 times a day to see what's on there and to keep abreast of everything.
Just to follow up with that, since you go to the website daily, I know social media is prevalent in our community.
Yes.
Especially Facebook. And sometimes false information goes out.
Yes.
How do you handle false information that's been put out about the city?
Well, right now, I don't feel that I was in a predicament to speak on it because, you say one thing, then it starts a domino effect. But I do let the mayor know in case if it's something on there that I think he needs to be privy of, that I've seen. But other than that, I do not go back and forth because I think that's just really not a good look for a city official or a city employee to go back and forth with a resident, because sometimes that's what they're looking for, just to get something going and to have a negative thread. And I don't believe in negativity at all.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
What steps would you take if it was discovered that there's a violation of policies? Ordinance? What would you do if you discovered that there's violations?
If I discover that there is a violation of, did you say of ordinance?
Ordinance or policies?
I would find out what is the pecking order, who to report it to first, and then continue to go that way.
I have a question. Do you have experience compiling reports? And if so, could you please describe?
Yes, I do have experience compiling reports. Previously, when I started in 2007, I started in the clerk's office. So I had to compile reports there. And then I was able to transfer across the hall with a promotion and the accounts payable department. So that also acquires compiling reports. And then I was able to transfer and be promoted to the payroll department. So that also
How did
compiled
you-
reports.
How did you, compile your reports for payroll? I mean, I just want an example on how you kind of.
I will go onto the necessary database and pull the reports for the date that is required and pull it together that way.
Questions? Any questions you have for us?
I can say no at this time because I pretty much have the gist of what you all do. And I respect what you all do and I commend what you all do for your district. So at this time, no. I would just like to thank you for allowing me to interview with you.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, I'm sweating.
No, okay.
Yeah, what you do with my husband?
What happened to?
I don't know.
He was here?
He dropped me off. So I'm not used to sitting here and he's not here.
He probably had
Right.
Bogarts. He'll be all right.
He likes Flight Club.
Oh, he likes Flight Club? It's a lamb chop. Yeah, 2 more. Oh,
Where you at?
there'll be more fun over there.
You can come in here. Yeah. Yeah. Open meeting, okay. I like him.
Oh, right now. Come on now. Too late for you to apply.
No.
I didn't like the job that I had.
Councilman Cassie Jones, McBride.
Hello. How you doing, Ms. Jones? Evening. Step right up to the podium. Welcome.
Good evening, everyone.
Evening. We are going to, do you know everybody up here? You see name tags.
I'm familiar with everyone.
Okay, we're gonna ask you a series of questions. Just like to relax and just give us whatever natural, if you don't know, that's fine. We're not expect you to know everything. And then you also get an opportunity to ask us questions. Well, let's start with something that's not scripted. Why did you apply for this position?
Well, I have been deeply invested, connected to the people of Inkster ever since I started organizing here about 4 or 5 years ago. In the past 2 elections, I've been really dedicated to improving the voter experience. I tried to connect with the previous city clerk to that end in solidarity with her. And so when she left the position, I thought it would be an opportunity for me to bring the resources that I wanted to bring when she was in office to the next, to this office, if I were chosen.
Can you talk to us a little bit about some of the experience you said over the last couple of elections? What exactly did you do and what did you learn from those experiences?
So I have a nonprofit that was able to get resources to hire poll monitors. So in the 22 election, I was able to hire 32 poll monitors in 4 different cities. So I was able to staff all of the polling locations in Inkster, also a few in Westland, a few in Highland Park, and also all of them in River Rouge. And so what I wanted to determine, because when I was also a campaign manager for someone who ran for state office in the primary, and then she lost. And so I noticed there was the disparities between the places that she governed, the places that the polling locations were not accessible in some places, but it was all the harm and the voter experience was more harmed in Black communities. And so I wanted to make sure that I came back and brought the resources that I had for the general election. So I hired for that. From that, I was able to get real-time data as to what was happening. I staffed them for the entire day. And then that, as I was reporting back to the Secretary of State, they were able to come down and actually do help to support the clerk to see what was happening, why there wasn't, the polling books weren't working. There was every polling location open late. And so they came in and they were able to provide assistance based on the reporting from my poll monitors. And then from there, they were able to do an audit and recommend some suggestions for more training, things of that nature. And so I tried to meet with the clerk to see how we can be more in solidarity with her as my organization, as a volunteer, because I do know that in Black communities, either mostly by design, they're very under-resourced. So it was really important not to lay blame on her. I didn't know what resources that she may need or may have asked for from her leadership. I wanted to make sure that I could bring the resources that I had to the city and to support her. And so I also paid for all of the lunches for all the poll workers as well as the poll monitors to ease some of the burden she was saying as far as financially to the office.
So can you describe your understanding of the role of a city clerk within local government?
Yes. So I know that it's larger than elections, but because we have so many consequential elections coming up, a large part of the role, especially with Proposal 2, making sure that we have what we need to be in compliance. I know that today starts the process of contacting voters around the absentee ballots to make sure that they choose which ballot they would like. And that's really important. So there are a lot of new things that are happening with Proposal 2, and I'm making sure that voters are notified of those changes.
Councilwoman Richardson?
Yes. You have experiences compiling reports?
I'm sorry, I can hear you.
Reports.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
What kind of experience do you have when you're doing?
Actually compiled the
Report.
reports from our
I
poll
know
monitors
election,
too.
but
Yeah.
other than elections, have you been in any other job where you had to do specific reports? or
Oh,
reporting?
sure. So where I am currently, I work as a housing specialist at the Booth Ellis Center. We house LGBTQ youth who are experiencing homelessness.
Mhm.
And so I'm a sole person in my role, and so I have to report on the daily that I have to report to the state. In my previous role, I was the first Black organizing program manager in the nation for Planned Parenthood. So my role there was to make sure that I did not just local reporting, but national reporting on the way that we engage our communities, but also making sure that we are in compliance with what we needed to be in compliance with the current laws and the different connections that we have in terms of our ways that we also engage in legislative processes. We had a C4 and a C3, which is C4 is our political arm and our C3 is our nonprofit arm. So making sure that we had documentation about how much time was allotted for each one. It was very important to be detailed about how much time we were spending. I did a lot of election protection work, and I ran the first election protection civic engagement initiative for Planned Parenthood of Michigan. And so I was able to make sure that 45 poll workers were hired across the state in 2020. So I had to make sure that I worked with the ACLU and different other agencies to make sure that we document those people who applied and also report back in real time what their experiences were.
Um, How familiar are you with the Freedom of Information Act, or FOIA, and its implications for city record management?
I know it's very important to make sure that we're compliant and respond timely to FOIA requests. We need to be transparent in the process. I'm not sure exactly which, how you work with the attorneys for the office, but making sure that they work in close communication with the city clerk to make sure that we have the records necessary and be in compliance with being able to give that information freely to the demands of the court order. So I think that retaining and maintaining records is very important so that we won't have any violations going forward.
How do you, excuse me, how do you handle situations where you must enforce rules or regulations that may be unpopular with some community members?
Well, I'm very used to having that type of conversation with different constituencies within different communities. Because of the work that I've done in the past, I've done organizing for since 2008, 2009. So having to translate what policies are in real time to people so they can understand and so they can be invested in what that looks like in their life is very important. So I have a lot of experience over the past, 15 years or so in making sure that people are very well versed in what is required of them and that we are in solidarity with them and making sure that we provide the best information possible. And that also eases the way in which people kind of connect to what policy procedures are. If you just have communication that's clear, that's open, that's honest, and that is amenable to their feedback to a certain extent, you will have a better conversation.
Thank you.
As you know, there's a lot of things that go on with being a city clerk, so what strategies do you use to stay organized and to manage multiple tasks simultaneously?
Well, I'm used to managing different hats, so I understand that there is prioritization that needs to happen in terms of the schedule and timing, that because there's compliance issues that we have to have with the county and the state when it comes to the reporting that we have to do in that office. So with the role, I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of making sure that we have a system where it is informed by this body and by the training and support that we have in the role to make sure that we prioritize correctly. But we can do all the things that we need to do, and we can do them well if we have the support and the communication and solidarity again with each other. And also a strong deputy clerk that would support the office.
What steps would you take if you discovered a potential violation of city ordinances or policies?
I will make sure that I'm well versed in that city ordinance and policy and make sure that I communicate effectively with the violator of that policy. There is sometimes a conversation with constituents who just don't really know that there's a violation. So being transparent ahead of time also to make sure that we don't have violations that could be corrected or that didn't have to happen is important. But when it does, I'm just being open and honest with them and try to have some strategy around solutions.
How do you stay informed about events, current events and issues affecting your community?
And while I'm out here, so I'm going to different events. I'm connected to a lot of different organizations. The way in which I do my work in community organizing is that I'm connected to a lot of state agencies. I mentioned before the ACLU and Michigan Voices, which is the largest partner table that are able to bring other resources to different nonprofits to make sure that we have what we need in civic engagement, by nature. But also make it really my business to make sure that I'm connected to the community that I serve. Just like when I hired for the poll monitors for the last two elections, I made sure that I hired people from Inkster and not from anywhere else to invest back into the people of Inkster. And also to make sure that I become more in communication and more in alignment with what their needs are and the reflection of what they needed to improve the voter experience for them as well as the people that we serve.
Thank you.
Can you provide an example of a time when you had to resolve a conflict between two parties?
Between two parties? Let's see, conflict. A lot of work in my reproductive health experiences has been around having conversations that are very difficult, especially when people have a conversation about how they would vote based on their personal beliefs and they tie their vote to their interests. So what I try to do is try to get some common ground. There's always some connectivity between parties that we can land on as a foundational strategy to try to dismantle some of the issues that may be coming up against both parties and try to work within that common ground to make sure that we have a good outcome. It's not always that we get that outcome that we desire, but there is a place always where we can land of commonality between all parties. And then we can move within that to see how we can come to some kind of resolution. It's important to find common ground.
And why do you believe you are the right candidate for the city clerk position?
Well, I am the right candidate, I believe, because I have resources. I am resourced in terms of making sure that I have what I need to do the work effectively. I am very much invested in making sure, as a volunteer, making sure that I have what I needed and what the city of Inkster needed to make sure that there was a way for the voter experience to be improved. After the first election in 2020 that I was organizing in, I went to the senator that we lost to, and I had a meeting with her, right, in Inkster, and I asked her how she could reconcile the fact that she couldn't organize or come to Black communities because she knew she had to govern those communities. And I called her in, held her accountable for the way she moved, but also for future work. And she later told me that that changed how she invested in the communities that she served that are led by Black people. And so there's a need for community organizing in this office. I believe that there is a large need for, to address the voter apathy in most communities, but especially having communities like Inkster, who I took a picture in September of 2022, but after the election of the faces on the wall and in City Hall. And I was like, this could really be a Black utopia if we just invest and liberate and lift up the voices of the community in ways that they see themselves reflected in city government. And that's why I stayed and invested in that. Whether I'm a volunteer, if you choose me for the role as clerk, I'm always going to be invested in trying to improve the voter experience in Inkster, but also bringing the resources that I have to make sure that that I invest what I can in my sphere of influence to make sure that we have what we need. And I'm nuanced in that way. So I did create the first the first poll monitor worker recruitment fair for Inkster along with the city clerk to make, because she mentioned that she had some issue in finding some poll workers. And so I created this event, made sure that we publicize it around the city. I held it at Booker Dozier. I paid for all the food and make sure that she had a pool of people to choose from to help her do what she needed to do. So I come in very nuanced, but I come in always in organizing within my sphere of influence to make sure that we have what we need.
Does spark any additional questions from the council?
You're so soft-spoken. I'm an irate citizen. I am not happy with what these people did, the decision they made.
Mhm.
And I'm coming to you How would you handle that?
Well, I don't want to meet you in the same aggression that you're gonna be meeting me with. But I also know that, that your, position is valid. Whatever experience that you have needs to be honored and supported. There is a conversation about explaining what the experience may have been with the city council. Maybe there was something that they weren't privy to that informed the decision as to why they may be upset but it's always, a space where you can honor, what they're saying and how they're feeling. And we cannot invalidate that. And we have to address it in the best way that we can within our realm of, possibility. And I think if they feel invested in parts of that, and if they see an improvement in their own experience, whether it be just somebody, sometimes they just want to be heard. And that's a large part of the role, I think, is to hear people's concerns, hear what their experiences have been, and try to correct it the best way you can.
Okay.
Mm.
Any other questions? You have any questions for us?
So, me knowing that there's a lot of things happening in the next few weeks, when do you plan on making a decision for the role?
Tonight.
Oh, tonight? Oh, well, all right then. And also too, I noticed that the deputy clerk position was taken down. Have you been actively interviewing for that role as well, or?
Meet our new deputy clerk, Malika Self.
Wonderful. Okay, that's great. That's great. Okay, that's all I have.
Well, we have an election coming up February 27th.
Yes, you do.
So one of the factors we have to consider is how soon someone could start.
Mhm.
What would be your first, what would be your availability?
My availability to start would be almost immediate, depending on what we talk about in terms of what your needs are immediately. I am amenable to that. And my current employer, I have flexibility with how I work with them. I'm mostly remote, so I do a lot of work after hours, before hours. That's kind of how I roll. So it's really amenable.
All right, well, we want to thank you for coming in today,
Yeah.
and interviewing with us.
Thank you
We'll
for
be
having me.
contacting you very, very soon.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you. You could hear. You meant it?
He said, have you met us?
He is sweetie pie.
Yeah.
Hello again.
Hello.
I think she has one, well, no, I think she may have had an update. She mentioned that she.
Thank you.
Council Shana Jones.
Good evening, Ms. Jones. How are you?
I am alive. How are you all today?
Good, good. Well, welcome, and thank you for coming in to interview with us. We're gonna ask you a series of questions, and we'll just relax and give us the best response you have. And who wants to start this?
I'll start it off.
Okay.
Ms. Jones, how familiar are you with the Freedom of Information Act and its implications for city record management?
To be honest, I am not that familiar. I have not done much research on specific acts.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Can you describe your role or your understanding of the role in the city clerk?
Oh, yes. So my understanding of the role of city clerk is to be the first and foremost outreach to those citizens of the city and to also be the record keeper for QVF and to also make sure that I keep clerical records for all the meetings and anything that is happening on for the city.
So how would you handle a situation where a citizen is unhappy with the decision made by the city council?
And when you say decision, do you mean just a vote or maybe, okay. Honestly, me as a person, I do believe in talking and consulting with people directly face to face. So I would definitely consult the person, speak with them perhaps, if they're available to just see what the issue is at hand, maybe get to a deeper root of the problem and see if there's a way that we can possibly, even though I can't change the vote, compromise in any way or perhaps allow them to give me a different solution that they think could have worked for future reference.
Do you have any experience with calling reports? Describe it.
Yes, and just to clarify, you said compelling reports, ma'am?
Compiling.
Oh, compiling, okay, thank you. Yes, actually, so currently in my current role, as a program consultant and actually in the last few roles, a lot of the reports, excuse me, that I compiled were actually with a team of lead strategists, marketing analysts, and recruiters. And what I basically did was use my data analysis and analytics, I guess I should say as well, to basically, how do I see it in this way? Gather information and use that information to enhance processes, as a matter of saying it shortly.
How do you handle situations where you must enforce rules or regulations that may be unpopular with some of the community members?
If it is unpopular, it is not always wrong. So in this case, again, because I'm a person who, likes to be face to face, actually speak to people if there's an issue where they're like, hey, this is something that we don't agree with. I think that can call for perhaps, if possible, maybe a town hall, again, to settle grievances and to just see what actually the root issue might be, because it's not always something that is directly on the face, but perhaps it is another issue related to why they think the ruling or voting is unfair.
Can you provide an example of a time when you had to resolve a conflict between two parties?
Yes, I can actually use my current position for that. So we have had an ongoing issue, I guess I can say, with Allegiance Global Solutions, where we're trying to actually acquire another state for the Chevron Oil and Gas Company. So what they're not trying to do is give them enough funding to actually push the merger through. However, what I'm currently in the process of doing is using a lot of analytics, just basically showing them that, hey, this merger is actually something that we need to do, and here are the facts to prove it.
What is your experience with elections, if any? Yeah, let's just do that. What's your experience with elections?
So I have worked elections. I've also worked in the back for quite a few years. I want to say I began under the direction of former clerk Belinda Gutierrez. And as far as I can remember, up until college, I have actually worked elections, every single election we've had.
I'm sorry, what did you say she was?
Oh, Velita
Velita.
Gutierrez. Mhm.
Velita,
Yeah,
oh.
that's when I initially started.
Oh,
How do you stay informed about current events and issues affecting your community?
the easy way, CNN, and I always make sure that I have notifications pop up on my phone. I also find LinkedIn to be very helpful. And I also think that it's cool to just have word of mouth and speaking with people who are not necessarily on the same lane as me.
So any event, because what you mentioned, everything,
Mhm.
all of that works off technology.
Yes.
So say it was 2003 and there was a blackout hit again, how would you stay informed?
Mm,
What you trying to say? She might have been in diapers.
Yeah,
Were you there?
I mean, if I were this age, technically, I guess I could say.
I'm sorry.
Oh, well, no, it doesn't hurt. If it's not based on technology, it doesn't hurt to do if permissible and if able. The old mouth to mouth, door to door, just going around, saying, hey, I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with this. This is what's going on. Maybe if I can even contact someone on the phone, I'm not sure if that counts as technology in this scenario.
Phones work, not cell phones, but the house phones work.
House phones, yeah. So yeah, again, like I said, because I'm big on just speaking to people with people, I wouldn't mind, just going to them if I have to. It's not an issue.
Thank you.
Have you ever heard of a newspaper?
Yes.
I'll be checking. I'll be checking.
Don't let them do that to you.
Why do you feel that you're the best candidate to be city clerk?
I feel that I am the best candidate simply because, or actually, let me start over, excuse me. Not only because I am a resident of the city of Inkster and I've been here since I was born just about, but because Inkster typically does get a very bad rep to our surrounding neighborhoods, our surrounding cities, our surrounding towns. And I believe that I can definitely be a beacon of light and a positive impact to show them that, hey, we're not like who you think we are. We're way better and we're going to be better. We're going to progress to continue to be better.
Okay, you seem very nice. What steps would you take if you discovered a potential violation of a city ordinance or policy?
Okay, well, I would say, in that case, I would do what I have to do now. There's a case of, perhaps a termination, for example. I'm definitely by the book. And once we have the chance to find out who the culprit is, or maybe, we allow them to bring themselves into the fold if we're not able to find them on time, I would definitely follow the rules in accordance to what they violated and the proper punishment or action.
What strategies do you have? I'm sorry, what strategies do you use to stay organized and manage multiple tasks simultaneously?
I would say I would have to
Computer.
use.
You know
No,
what that is.
actually, in this case, I'm more of a person who likes to use a pen and a notepad. I also have a huge desk calendar, and I also do utilize my Outlook that is a part of the computer. But I have found that it does help me a lot more when I'm able to visually see the steps that I need to take, or perhaps the actions that I need to do.
Thank you.
Yes.
So why did you decide to apply for this position?
I decided to apply because I have, if I can be frank here, tried to initially apply with the city when I was younger because I was a person who was just like, oh, I could definitely come in here and just be a little spurt of energy and possibly get the job that I wanted, which of course, as I'm older and I have had the chance to enhance my skill set, no, that is not true. So now that I'm actually feeling that I'm at a place where I'm doing the right thing in life and that I know how to do the right thing in life, I want to bring that to my city.
Good answer. Well, thank you. I appreciate it. Anybody have anything else? All right, thank you for coming in and interviewing with us. And we'll let you know something very soon.
And you all have a good night. Stay
too.
safe.
Yeah, it's probably better. Mhm.
Thank you, so.
We did our interview.
We had a couple of sweetie pies.
Everybody was real nice. You know.
They were.
Everybody's nice in their interview.
Right.
Well, so we made a motion to go into it. How we discuss and then do the appointment.
Yeah, I guess, I don't know how we make them. I don't know if we make a motion for one particular person and discuss, or
Yeah, we can make a motion to discuss them overall.
I guess it was already part of the motion.
It
Interviews
is.
and discussions, so we can just talk about it, I guess, yeah.
That's why I put it in.
So what do you guys think? I think all of them did well.
Yeah, I think all of them did well.
It's just some are stronger than others.
Yeah.
I think there's one, Gina stands out the most just because she has the most experience. Even just like different topics like FOIA and kind of like the ins and outs of at least like minor what clerks do outside of the election. Cause like, yeah, elections are big in our city, but there's also a lot more that comes through as well than just maintaining elections. So that's why she kind of stood out to me.
You know, the way Gina came across, anything that gets thrown at her, she gonna be able to handle it. And she ain't gonna mess around about, she gonna, she's kind of busy.
And do her research, like the packet that we got.
I like Gina.
Like you.
I do. I just like, you know, her attitude, and she's here. So it's good to kind of hire within. You know, the other ones were nice, but I don't think they have the experience that she has, and she wants to do it. She has a drive to do it, and I like that. The other one, she's more computer savvy. That's good. You know, I don't knock that either, but the other one's not. Why they chew up?
Everybody can't have your personality.
No, me or Watley.
Right.
He works the line.
Two rare birds right there.
Strong and boisterous. That's what he's.
This is her too? Yeah, she fiery too.
I've been quiet. I just think, I like the initiative that even Gina took, even just being in the clerk's office, just going out and to help to assist. How she has gotten to know the position, how she's got, put things together. She even has the calendar right here for the
Yeah.
election calendar,
That
which is
got me
something that
right
she might
there.
not have been in there, but she
You
trying
have
to
that
figure it
good,
out. Yeah.
We had a breakdown. I like that.
Yeah, and she's organized. I can say that from her prior experience, but I think she's really organized in that position. You have to be.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of our smaller issues. Sometimes it's receiving things, making sure they don't just sit on the desk and that they're properly filed and.
Give her the number of FOIA lawsuits we've had in the last couple of years.
Oh, my gosh.
And then messy.
That should not have.
Don't give me again?
What he said.
Oh,
I think Gina's excellent personally. I do. I like her.
what you think, Mayor Pro Tem?
Yeah, I just like.
Yeah,
Holiday.
I'm on board with that. I mean, just looking at the information that's here, working both at the state level and the local level with regards to just being on the outside, not the inside of elections, this information is pertinent. I mean, even just our polling locations, because I know Councilman Bishop and Councilwoman Scott haven't been around every election, even though Councilwoman Scott has helped with elections. We get calls all the time. Where do I go vote?
Exactly.
Every election.
Every.
And so this is a pertinent document right here. And then just talking about the precinct delegates, because it's a lot that we don't dig into.
Mhm.
And when these candidates come before us, if they aren't already privy to this and we need somebody hitting the ground running, it's dire that they know exactly where to navigate to get this. You can't always pick up the phone and call the Secretary of State or get online and Google this information because it might take you 10 minutes when Gina got it in 10 seconds. So I was pleased with this information and no shade to the other candidates. It's just,
Yeah.
this was even though, because she's working here, this was a great document to bring before us, this day and age.
It just seems like the easiest transition at this time for us.
She has even, updated the election inspector, the application. She's had that updated online already.
She did.
Yeah.
You
I
guys
mean,
wanna
just
make-
little things like that.
Do we have a motion?
I like. to-
Oh, no, yeah, we have to,
Yeah, I like to, move to nominate, Georgina Holiday
Mhm.
as the city clerk for the city of Inkster.
That's okay.
We probably moved in second, discussion, we can already had. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All say nay. Thank you. Do you need a close, you need a motion to adjourn?
Need my
Oh,
phone.
huh? Oh, I'm sorry. Mr. Richardson, what would you like to say tonight?
I'm gonna take all yes.
Okay, okay.
Okay.
Any council comments? Does anybody listen to them?
Everything, y'all, you all have done what you all needed to do.
Oh, I'm thinking my packet, my information back.
Yeah, that's what I was working on.
Have that
He's a good employee, he at least let you keep the folder, you know, to keep the packet. You taking everything back. Oh, okay.
Yeah, I make a motion that we adjourn.
Second.
I make a motion that he buys dinner because
Oh.
the man's coming.
Right. Point of order, point of order. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Something else.
6:06.
Oh.